Alex Belfield is still in the headlines, not because of remorse or rehabilitation, but because of a curious mix of bravado, clickbait and calculated self-promotion. Selfies, I suppose, is another way for it. Having served just under 2.5 years of a 5.5-year sentence for stalking, he was released on licence earlier this summer, and one might expect a man in his position to keep a low profile. Instead, he's back on YouTube, allegedly selling his self-published books outside courthouses and hinting that he may soon be recalled to prison. It's part confession, part publicity stunt, and wholly designed to sustain his audience. What makes this story more striking is the loyalty of his fan base. Belfield has cultivated a following not unlike that of Tommy Robinson, supporters who either disregard or actively excuse his criminality. His voice of reason branding casts him as a persecuted truth seller, even a political prisoner rather than a convicted stalker whose campaign of abuse was described by Jeremy Vine as like swimming in sewage. The Black Belt barrister has drawn an interesting parallel between Belfield and Lucy Connolly, and both have been in prison, both continue to attract sympathetic supporters, and both highlight the strange inconsistencies of sentencing in England and Wales. Connolly received 31 months for a single tweet that incited racial hatred after the Southport murders. That is serious, and she pleaded guilty, yet, as the barrister notes, 2 men who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl in her own home received just 2.5 years each, less than Connolly, less than Belfield. Meanwhile, Belfield, whose abuse was relentless and cruel, but non-physical, served longer than either. And apparently in the report that took place before sentencing, the report advised that he shouldn't have a prison sentence. It's interesting. These comparisons underline a glaring problem. Sentencing guidelines often produce outcomes that jar with public common sense, and assaults that cause lifelong trauma sometimes attract lighter sentences than words online. Judges must follow guidelines, otherwise their judgment is overturned on appeal, but the result can look grotesquely inconsistent. Belfield's case also raises another troubling point. Reports suggest he continues to taunt victims and will face further legal proceedings. And his probation conditions are meant to prevent precisely that sort of continued abuse. And recall to prison is always an option. Yet Belfield is skilled at exploiting the ambiguity. When he claims "I've broken no law," he plays on the technical distinction between breaching a licence condition and committing a fresh offence. In reality, either can put him back inside, but because he is judged to be 0.1% of a threat to the public, there are probably very few restrictions on his behaviour at home. And adding to the surreal atmosphere, Belfield recently claimed exclusive knowledge, inside knowledge. He claimed he received an email from the Screws, inside knowledge of a fatal assault at HMP Fosse Way, which I covered last week, I think. The very prison where he served part of his sentence, and the details were later confirmed by police, but and in print in the Nottinghamshire newspapers. But the probation service told him that the video caused serious alarm to the family involved. Even here, he has turned grim reality into self-promotion, hinting that he may be banned from broadcasting until 2028, while simultaneously selling more books and driving traffic to his channel. The question is not whether Belfield is clever. He clearly is. The question is whether a justice system that treats words and acts as so unevenly has created the conditions for such figures to thrive. If Lucy Connolly's one tweet earns more prison time than physical assault, if Belfield can build a career off the back of his conviction, as Tommy Robinson can, then perhaps the system is failing twice over, failing victims of crime and failing the principle of deterrence. By the middle of next week, we may know whether Belfield is recalled to prison or how he fares in the next legal case. But whatever happens, his YouTube persona is unlikely to vanish. Like many before him, he's discovered that notoriety can be monetized and is intoxicating. The real victims, still dealing with the aftermath of his abuse, do not have the luxury of turning trauma into content. And that, in the end, is what makes his ongoing performance so distasteful.